Do you want to be someone who walks into the room like this? Hi everyone. I'm Emily. Today I am going to talk. Or do you want to be someone who walks into the room like this? Here are 3 tips that can help you improve your public speaking and make you into the dream public speaker that you've always wanted to be. First things first is that you are going to need to get over yourself. And by get over yourself, I mean that you have to get comfortable with sounding weird, with being weird to the people that don't matter. Like, you haven't seen these people in decades, dude. Are you worried about like the people that you follow from high school or middle school or college that are following you on Instagram? If you're trying to make content and you're worried about what they're thinking, then you need to unfollow them. First thing I realized that was a pivotal moment for me in transforming the way that I was able to speak out loud is that I needed to get over myself. I needed to be comfortable in my own skin, and I needed to try and think of settings that I am in where I feel the most comfortable, where I feel the most content, where I feel the most authentic, and then try to replicate that feeling when you're standing on stage. Yes, you're standing in a foreign place and there's people that are looking at you, but if you just try to take your mind back to the place where you feel like yourself. The second tip that I have to try to improve your public speaking and your ability to answer questions in class with confidence and poise and to be able to speak in meetings is that you should be practicing constantly. Any time that you have in private, you should be practicing. And anytime you have in public, you should be having conversations with people that are in your life. So even if you aren't somebody if you live with nobody and you work in a job that you don't talk to anybody at all. So if we're just going to start with that, which is an extreme, then I would say that you probably have a phone if you're watching this, and your phone has a voice recording option. So practice as much as possible. Record your voice and then listen back to it and try to identify the things that you don't like about your speech. Whether it's the tone, whether it's the volume, whether it's the lack of inflection in your voice. Just start to identify, am I using filler words? Am I stuttering? Am I shaky? Try to identify these things, and then you can move from there and just practice. Put in those reps and try to see how you can eliminate some of those things out of your speech. Part 2 to that is that you are no longer going to just send text messages. If you are trying to improve at this skill, then any chance that you get to use these tools to improve your speaking, you should be using them. Send voice messages to people instead of typing them. And I understand that not every setting you will be able to just speak and send these voice messages, but I feel like you will have the chance at some point or another to practice this. And if you're willing to take it to the next step, specifically read things that you may feel uncomfortable reading and that you know that you're struggling with and you're afraid to speak in front of a crowd to say certain things, but send it to people that you trust. Send it to your friends, send it to your significant other, send it to your mom, your dad, or your aunt or uncle, your cousin, your whoever, your neighbor. Send them a voice or video with you speaking and ask for feedback. Tell them what your goals are and ask them for feedback. Number 3, picture the outcome being amazing. Before you jump to conclusions about what anyone could possibly think, try to imagine in your head that everyone is going to be so relieved that you brought up these topics, that you asked this question in the meeting, that you had this statement in class in response to somebody else's question. Just imagine the perception of everybody being so happy and proud that you brought up that information. Your brain will automatically trick you into thinking all of these negative thoughts. So you need to try and trick your brain back into thinking that this outcome to you saying this is going to add value to this world and that it is going to be amazing. So you need to start practicing in this cycle in your head of thinking that if I don't say it, then maybe nobody will. And that the outcome can be great because you're the one speaking and people trust you. To recap, the 3 things that you can do to immediately try to improve your speaking, your ability to raise your hand in class and say an answer, to speak up about topics that matter to you in work meetings, and to maybe take up some speaking opportunities that you've been passing up because of some fears. Number 1, remember that it is to get over yourself, to realize that the worst case scenario is that you might sound weird. You have to get over people's perception of you being weird. You might be weird, but if that's the worst thing that they could think of to call you, then I think you're doing pretty good because you're still the one in the position to be speaking. Number 2 is that you need to practice. I like to repeat things that I hear in podcasts and in audiobooks, even if it means that I'm pausing them while I'm listening to them, and repeat messages that seem extra important to me. Sometimes I will sing these things if I'm in my car by myself, or I will just say it in different accents. I will say it in different tones. I will say it in all different ways because that's what works for me. And I feel like it warms up my body and I feel more comfortable. So it's just kind of like putting in reps and practicing. Now that I am beginning to realize that I have a voice and that I can use it and that voices can be very, very powerful, I am trying to practice warming it up and saying things that matter and saying things that make me feel confident in a private setting so that when I am in a public setting, it comes out more smoothly and I have more confidence in it. And number 3, picture the outcome being amazing. Remember that what you are saying does matter. People have you there for a reason. You're either a student in a class that you chose to be there, and you are just as valuable of a student as any other in the class. And if you're afraid to say things, but you want to, then just try to practice these things to get to a point where you could start to say things because you chose to be there. The same thing applies to jobs. They hired you for some reason. You applied and you got hired for a reason. They know that you're capable. So now you need to know that you're capable. And you need to imagine that the outcome of what you are saying will have a positive impact on the room. You have to imagine that what you are saying is giving value to others. It could be something very small, very simple, a new concept or a new idea at work, a new software suggestion. Whatever it is can have a bigger impact. And if you are afraid to say it, I just want you to really practice imagining that people's perception of you is all positive. It's not easy. It's not easy. If you're someone who's always been quiet or reserved, it's something you have to get over to be comfortable with making noise. I feel like after years of putting in reps of quiet, it's going to take some time to take up the space and make noise. I really appreciate all of the resources that I've been able to use to improve my speaking, and I hope that you have found value in listening to this, so thank you so much. Please feel free to leave comments below, like it if you found value in this video, subscribe if you want to learn more.